Hey, this is Kurt, bariatric carnivore, and we do have a very psychopathic medical system. I'm not saying that your doctor is a psychopath. I'm not saying that the hospital is, but the system itself behaves with a callous disregard toward other human beings, particularly when it comes to individual health. The system is frankly fantastic when it comes to taking care of acute injuries. If you come in and you've been in an auto wreck, if you've been shot, you've been stabbed, or something like that, they will fix you up better than any place in the world, and they are great at it. They take care of emergencies great. How about utilizing this technology to make you healthy? Well, they don't do that. I mean, frankly, that's frustrating. I mean, we've got these great tools called MRIs. We can do these great in-depth imaging studies of people that will show people exactly how much visceral fat they have, how much fat has actually invaded their muscles, etc. And with a little bit of discussion, people can understand. They can see the fat around their pancreas and their heart, and they can be told relatively how simple it is to get rid of it. I mean, that's the first fat that goes when they start dieting, and they can do a follow-up image and get good positive feedback. They could utilize the tools that they've got to help create positive health changes, but the system doesn't do that. It doesn't reward it. Matter of fact, you have to pay for that stuff out of pocket. Your insurance is not going to cover it. So if you want to be healthy, you're going to have to pay money out of your pocket to make it happen. The insurance that you pay for isn't going to cover it. It only covers the acute stuff or chronic illnesses. And the insurance companies would rather you have chronic illnesses than getting healthy, frankly. Because once you're on that treadmill, once you are stuck in the situation where you have to go visit a doctor on a regular basis to get refills of your medication for some sort of chronic injury or illness or set of symptoms, you're a customer for life. And where does we see this the most? Well, on things like blood pressure. I mean, it used to be that the systolic number, the high number on that used to be 140. That was considered okay. You were okay as long as it was below 140. You were perfectly fine. They'd like you to lower it, but you didn't have hypertension. Well, over the years, that has edged down to the point where it's now at 120. And what that means is over the vast majority of American adults, particularly adult males, are going to be hypertensive, which means you've now got a chronic disease, which requires you to see a doctor to get medications on a regular basis to track that down. And there may be some good number of reasons for that, but you're not looking at the whole person. I mean, you're not looking at, okay, this person's blood pressure may be above 120, but are they lean? Are they exercising? What do they eat? There's a lot of things that go into it. And what has been lost in medicine is the art of medicine. You're following a particular number. You're looking at a cholesterol number and you're looking at a blood pressure number, but you're not looking at what are they doing? What is their lifestyle? Are they mobile? Are they healthy? Can they lift heavy things? Can they lift themselves up out of the chair? They don't even look at you. They're looking at their computer screen. And as a result, we are losing the art of medicine. Because look, when I say art of medicine, medicine is an art and a science. The science is the numbers. The art is looking at the patient and applying wisdom and common sense. Most doctors have lost their basic understanding of the totality of the system of the body. They do not teach physiology very well. They do not teach nutrition at all in the current system. And as a result, most doctors are horribly siloed. And it's been that way since the beginning of the 20th century when the Fleckner Commission came out. And that was pushed by J.D. Rockefeller because he wanted to create a supply chain for pharmaceuticals that were based on petroleum. And he wanted to sell more of his oil through pharmaceuticals. And that was a high value way of selling petroleum products. and he was all set, but he needed a way of getting that information to it. So he created this system where more medicine was going to be more quote unquote scientific, less of the artsy side of it, less of the trying to get people healthy side. And they siloed physicians into very specialized areas. So as a result, your cardiologist may be talking to you about being on a statin, but they don't understand livers and how cholesterol is created by the liver, and these statins can harm the liver, and that can create a cascade of other health problems. No, very few doctors really look at the totality of everything. They know their specialty, but they don't look at the totality, what's going on as a whole. And as a result, health is lost in this equation, and your health in particular is. In other words, the only person that's going to look after you is you. You're going to have to be responsible for looking after your own health. And thankfully, we live in an age when there is a great deal of information out there. I mean, you can look up, what's going on with your particular system, but you can also look at what are holistic ways of taking care of it. And also, look at what is this, okay, I can take this particular medication for lowering blood pressure, but what does that cause what are the side effects? What are the downstream effects? What are the downstream effects of statins as far as muscle wasting and problems with the liver? There's lots of stuff that we can take care of, we can look at, but you're going to have to do it because the doctors are not. They are siloed and they're looking at their particular specialty, and and bless their hearts, and God bless them and let them do more of it because they're really good at it. But you're going to be responsible for looking after your health. And unfortunately, nobody is talking about that. You go to a doctor, they can diagnose a particular number because the incentives, think about the incentives that are built into this whole system. We've got these MRIs that can do scans that can show you how much visceral fat you have. And that can be fantastic information for the average person. Because once you understand this is the visceral fat that's around your heart and around your pancreas, around your internal organs, and here's the steps that you take to get rid of that visceral fat. Doesn't require any medication, requires some slight modifications in lifestyle. And if you get rid of that visceral fat, you're going to probably get rid of your type 2 diabetes, and you're going to reduce the amount of inflammation in your body. That's the art of medicine, but nobody will pay for that. Your insurance company will not pay for it. The government won't pay for that type of information. Nobody's going to pay for that. You're going to have to be responsible to do that on your own. That's it. There's no money in trying to make you healthy. The system is designed to keep you preferably kind of sick, chronically sick. Something with a number on it. If your blood pressure and your cholesterol go up, now you're stuck in a system because you have to see a doctor. And in order to escape the copays, you're going to want to pay for the insurance that's going to scatter the cost out over a year. And you're a relatively inexpensive patient who just requires a little bit of maintenance drugs. The drugs are relatively inexpensive, but you're a patient for life. You're a customer for life. This is what's clogging the system. We've got a vast majority of Americans are suffering from some sort of chronic condition that requires some sort of visit, at least annually, semi-annually, to the doctor to take care of. And then there's a pharmaceutical that's going to, quote unquote, take care of it, when it could be taken care of by simple lifestyle adjustments if the incentives were there, but they're not. That's why I'm saying we've got a psychopathic system. It could take care of you, but it chooses not to. It behaves with a complete callous disregard for your health. That's the reality. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. I try to put out a couple of messages each week. If you like this message, please hit like and subscribe. Join this channel of other like-minded folks. I will talk to you again soon.